Hey, thank you for joining. We're just gonna wait for some more people to start coming in, and then we'll get started. Thank you all for joining. We're just gonna wait a little bit longer for some more people to join. All right. Okay. I guess we'll get started. Thank you for joining. My name is Jonathan Scott. I'm gonna start with just a little introduction about myself and um, give a little bit of background, and then we'll go into the topic. And uh, so uh, I'm a mobile security engineer and a researcher, and I've been in this industry for over 13 years. So in 2019, I started a business and I employed over 10 people. It's a security engineering business. And my business sold iOS and Android products to private, public, and government entities around the world, and specifically um, dealing with iOS forensics, Android forensics, and tools to identify devices and diagnose them and find irregularities specifically. And so I myself have consulted with the U.S. government specifically pertaining to iOS forensics. Was my consulting work. And so my educational background is I have a master's degree from Colorado Technical University in computer science, specializing in cybersecurity engineering. I was recently dismissed from my PhD computer science program due to some disclosures that I released, and that it was we may jump into that a little bit later, but for right now, I'm seeking a new PhD program, and I'm hopeful that I'll be accepted this coming week to a new program. But that's a little bit of my educational background, a little bit about me, and so you can just kind of have an idea of where I'm coming from and my expertise in the field. Um, it, so why am I doing this is the question. Um, Actually, I'm gonna have Alberto. Thank you for joining, Alberto. I'm gonna invite you as a co-host because it can sometimes I can sometimes get overwhelmed. And Alberto is a friend of mine. He's an amazing security engineer. Just he's a legend on his industry, and I'm thankful that he's here to support. Um, right. So why am I doing this? And this is not my first disclosure. This is again, so I'm glad Alberto is here because Alberto and I have talked about this for wow, this is going over a year now, and uh, why this is not a field that or even a career path that people may think to is glamorous, right? It's not glamorous at all, right? So that there's a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of things that are involved in doing these kinds of disclosures. The Alberto once called me and let me tell you what's about to happen next. He said, this smear campaign is going to start. They discredit everything that you've ever done in your entire life. The death threats are going to come. They're going to call your employers. They're going to call your universities. They're going to do everything that they can to cancel you, just take you out completely. They're going to accuse you of things that you've never done and try to have you arrested. I mean, he just walked me through the list, and sure enough, all of these things started happening. And Alberto and I have actually spoken about this many times. About this is not something that you choose to get into because you're going to be getting money, being paid by people and glamorous, like, celebrity status, none of that. Which I want to go into, people actually asking, do I work for the NSO group? Do I work for the government of Rwanda? Do I work for Spain? Or do I work for any other government that's in power, that's paying me? And the answer is no. I don't work for NSO Group. I've never been paid by them. I've never been given gifts by them. I've never had anything from them at all. I don't work for the government of Rwanda. I don't work for the government of Spain. I've never been paid by any government that's not my own government, right? And we have receipts for this, right? This is, I created software for a publicly company who then sold the software I created to government agencies. They handled all the transactions. So this is how, all these receipts are, I've been willing to share with journalists. It's important that we have this disclosure because there are fears being spread around the world, and this is something that isn't essentially we have to come to understanding why these fears are actually being spread and what can we do to prevent them. I was talking to a journalist, and this journalist said that there are three that there is God, the stars, and Citizen Lab. That's specifically what the journalist said. And it took me back because that's how revered this organization, God, stars, and Citizen Lab. I mean, they can't do any wrong, essentially. And it really irked me because there is no question that when Citizen Lab releases something, they are, well, essentially, they're correct. One second, let me actually, and we'll get to questions, after I go through a bunch of things. But so after talking to this journalist, I was just, kind of taken back and thought, wow, this is really the way that the world sees this organization. And there's very few people that speak out against it, and Amnesty is more of an organization that people speak out against, but not the Citizen Lab, right? They're the premier spyware institution in the whole world. This is what the world is saying. And why is that? Why are they the premier spyware, investigators of the world? So when the CatalanGate report came out, it was the biggest disclosure of and finding of civil society being targeted by NSO Pegasus spyware, allegedly. 65 people were said to be targeted with NSO Pegasus spyware. That's an extraordinary amount of people targeted by spyware, more than we had ever heard of before. And I had already been critical of Citizen Lab's work, and even way before this CatalanGate report came out, and this even put me further into questioning of their methodologies, of the facts that were being presented to the world. And this is where many of the things that you're hearing about now, the world conflicts in spyware community are coming about because I've published a report, disputing the claims of the CatalanGate report in Spain, and it was something that allowed people to research for themselves and kind of open their eyes to what's actually happening. Now, I'm going to get to the CatalanGate report after we speak about Rwanda and Carine Kanimba, but I want to preface all of this with I'm not. This is not a partisan conversation. I'm not speaking. I don't have information or knowledge about conflicts happening in the country of Rwanda. not that I'm disinterested. It's just I'm a scientist, and I want to present factual information for everyone to understand and disseminate on their own. My personal views on things after I'm educated about politics are my personal views, but I just want to preface it by saying I won't be sharing that in this conversation, and which is it's important to note that even the short article that I released about Carine Kanimba it's not a partisan based article. It actually speaks nothing about politics in Rwanda at all, and that's very important to note. All right, so we can go forward. Alberto, do you have anything to say before we go forward? I guess not. And can I get an acknowledgement from everybody if you can hear me okay? Just, I guess, tap on a heart or something, or a clap. Yes? Okay. All right. All right, thank you. Okay, so we're going to continue. So we've established don't work for any government entity. I don't work for the government of Rwanda. And so what do we know about the Carine Kanimba case? So I've been learning so many things about this case, and it just seems to be such a big mess of events that don't quite add up. But initially, what we know is that in July of 2021, Amnesty International released a report stating that they had found that Carine Kanimba's phone had been targeted with Pegasus spyware, and also released that her cousin had been targeted with Pegasus spyware as well. And again, I'm sure there's politics around all of this, but we're going to be focusing on the facts of the matter. So I was set out to understand. I wanted samples. So how did I get involved with just this case specifically? So I'd recommend people read the Medium post that I wrote. It's called NSO Through the Veil, and you'll find it in my Twitter feed. But I needed samples to help my research. I needed spyware samples, and during the CatalanGate issues, let's just say global issues, the director of the Citizen Lab, Ron Diebert, had issued a statement saying that they will not release samples to anyone because there is privacy concern with the participants of their research. So I messaged the participants of their research, who were publicly named by the media outlet Hertz, and I let them know who I was. I let them know, my educational background. I let them know my area of expertise, and then I asked them if I could petition Citizen Lab for the samples that were taken from their mobile devices, so that I could research them for myself and understand how Citizen Lab came to the conclusion that there was Pegasus spyware infection on their device. Carine Kanimba was one of the people that I messaged, and it was about maybe 2 weeks later after I had messaged on Twitter, and that message is public on what I sent, that I got a response back. The response said that she was happy to connect, and gave me her contact information, and that she would email me the forensics report that was sent to her by Amnesty International. Now, this is important because Amnesty International was one of the organizations that was said to have confirmed her mobile device to be infected with Pegasus spyware. So this again, this infection was confirmed in 2021, and I received this message from Carine Kanimba, and it was May, May 2022 of this year. And so, but I was working on my CatalanGate report, so I didn't have the availability to forensically, research the results that she had sent me. And by the time that when I was finished with my CatalanGate report, that's when I started to investigate the report that she had sent me. She had sent me a PDF, and the PDF said certified. It said certified Amnesty Forensic Methodology Report. And when I saw that report, I got to admit I was rather disappointed, because that report was the exact same report that was publicly available for the world to see, and Amnesty had published the exact same report. So I was thinking, what is the difference? Like, where are the details? Where are the details of the report? I was expecting something that was just, honestly, I was expecting something confidential. So, and it's literally the exact same report out to the public. And this is what she said. She said, if you look at the report and then you search for my name, she says, then you can see the traces that were associated to her mobile device. This one mobile device, singular mobile device, one mobile device, and this is very important. There's no mention of two mobile devices. There's no mention of any iPads, anything like that. I'm very specific on in my message. We're looking for Pegasus spyware in your mobile device. Now, when I started looking into the details of this forensic methodology, of course, this is available to the public, that people could have seen, quite some time ago. This is when everything started to unravel, and inconsistencies in methodology, inconsistencies in timeline started to show up. What further allowed me to put my gather my information and come to conclusions was the testimony that she gave with John Scott Railton at the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, and this was back in July 27th, 2022. And during this testimony in front of the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, Carine Kanimba said that in February of 2021, Citizen Lab, Amnesty International, and Forbidden Stories had approached her and said, we believe that your mobile device is infected, and we would like to run a forensic analysis on it. Now, I want to actually quote, and this is a quote from the from her testimony in the U.S. House Intelligence Committee. It says, in February of 2021, I was contacted by a collective of journalists called Forbidden Stories, working with Amnesty International and Citizen Lab on the Pegasus project. They had reason to believe I was being spied on. They asked to conduct a forensic analysis on my phone, and I agreed. It then was discovered that Pegasus surveillance had been used to target me. I was mortified to learn that I was a victim of this powerful surveillance malware. All right, so we have established a timeline that is a testament to the United States government that February is when her mobile device was confirmed to be infected. And well, so before we get into a really interesting part of all of this with the timelines, the science part is something to note. When the first public announcement that Carine's phone had been infected with Pegasus spyware was released. This was back in July of 2021. And along with this disclosure, Amnesty International also released a tool called the MVT tool. Now, this MVT tool is a tool that is supposed to be able to detect a Pegasus spyware infection on your mobile device. So, at the time when it was released, it was a revolution essentially, right? Like people were just, this is amazing. We can finally detect if we have Pegasus because it's been running through the world. Well, this tool started to see, people started to get false positives with this tool, and specifically, a reporter mentioned, "Hey, I just ran the MVT tool that was released, along with the Carine Kanimba report, and I received a false positive on my mobile device." At the same time, this was Zach Whitaker, journalist Zach Whitaker, who actually publicly posted this, saying that he received a false positive. Another mobile security engineering firm, ZecOps, posted a tweet saying, letting the people know that they found a false positive identifier after using the MVT tool, specifically a diagnostic D service that runs inside of an iPhone, and they told the general public, do not worry about this. You're not infected with Pegasus. This is a default iOS service that runs inside of your phone. They said, we've contacted Amnesty so that they can make the correction. And then shortly after they contacted Amnesty, Amnesty actually released a correction for their MVT tool, and they removed this false positive indicator, diagnostics D. So how I can best explain it, and I show what this diagnostics service is, and essentially it's a way for you to view an output of the device logs, and it just I posted a GIF because I had done a video specifically on this service. I've done an iOS forensics video explaining how this service works, and so I took a clip from my video and made a GIF, and it shows a whole bunch of scrolling text that shows all of the diagnostics that are happening inside of the device. This is normal iOS service that just comes with the operating system and can be triggered by a user. This is nice. It's after a trusted connection, then the user can trigger this, and they can view the services that are running on the mobile device. This is very normal behavior. The importance of me saying this is that the forensics report that was presented to the public and presented to me by Carine includes this diagnostic service, and the challenge is that Amnesty Amnesty has now removed this service that was claimed to be malicious, and they claimed that this service was a Pegasus spyware service, and Citizen Lab was said to have confirmed that all of they confirmed, and they were peer reviewed, the methodology and work of Amnesty. So now we have two entities saying that this forensics report, which is far from a forensics report, it is not a forensics report whatsoever. But we'll just go with the rhetoric that they say for now. This false positive is included in this report. It's never taken out. That's the thing. This false positive is never taken out of the report. So let's fast forward to when Carine Kanimba, John Scott Railton from Citizen Lab are presenting to the U.S. House Intelligence Committee. That same false positive result is delivered to the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, even knowing that that is not an indicator of compromise. It's been removed, but yet it's still presented, and it's still present. And furthermore, This is presented to the European Parliament as well. And I'm just rather in shock. I'm thinking, how can you do this? Right? This is deception, right? You're claiming that this is something that they have found to be true when they themselves have taken out this indicator of compromise. And this is in documents all over the world. And we know this is public information that but it's a very niche community, the spyware community and the information security community that actually researches this type of malware is very, very small. And then it even becomes even more specialized in the people that are actually able to identify processes and understand the processes in iOS devices. And this is why I believe that the world is just accepting what Citizen Lab and Amnesty International are saying, because there is very few people that are specialized in this type of investigation. So where the world is presented with this report that contains a false positive. Now, I think I'd like to attribute it to saying, well, we understand that that there's a false positive, but what's the impact? Of course, the Citizen Lab at Carine Kanimba have accused the Rwandan government of using Pegasus spyware to spy on her. And specifically, this is why she's giving her testimony to the U.S. House Intelligence Committee. Now, the impact this has is that a congressman suggested that we place sanctions, the American government place sanctions on Rwanda for spying on an American citizen. And while I'm watching this unravel, live on TV, I'm just over here thinking, my God, what is going on? Like, what is happening? Like, we're going to sanction a country for while you've presented false positive results, and you've not let the U.S. government know, you've not let the world know that what you're presenting has a false positive result in it. It's criminal. I can't imagine what's like for people in the Rwandan government. Just it's crazy. The Rwandan people even like just going through all of this. I can't imagine, because yes, the U.S. provides some support. Again, I'm not familiar with what's going on in Rwanda politics, but in American politics, if we're taking resources away from a country, there's a lot that has to go into that decision, and there was no due diligence when that decision was even suggested during this committee hearing, and that's very disheartening and discouraging for I'm sure a lot of people, myself included. Why is there no due diligence? Why was there no due diligence when this report was given to the U.S. government entity? And why was there no diligence performed when it was given to the European Parliament? And these are answers that we need. If you can imagine that you have been accused of a crime, and you're being convicted of a crime that that you didn't commit, and evidence is being withheld that says that that can prove your innocence, right? Now, people are going to say, well, there's a lot of other indicators of compromise, a lot of other ones. Well, but there's no facts to back those indicators of compromise. There are no facts at all that can corroborate those indicators of compromise. And I want to give an example of a few indicators of compromise. This is, and I write this inside of in my article, NSO Through the Veil. Of course, we have the diagnostic D, which is an indicator of compromise, saying we find this inside of a device. If we find diagnostic D inside of a device, you're infected with Pegasus. That's exactly what this means. Then inside of in my article, I also reference now diagnostic D is specific, right? This is what we're looking for. And then we have things that were said like this. Traces from zero-click attack attempt over iMessage. Attack-related push notifications over iMessage. Process crash detected. And for anyone that knows anything technical about this topic, my mind is blown here. We're presenting to the world. So essentially, we're saying, can you tell me the things that you've identified, the process that you have identified to determine that this device is infected with Pegasus spyware? And the answer to that is attack-related push notifications over iMessage. The answer to that is trace from zero-click attack attempt over iMessage. And the answer is process crash detected. It gives us no information. This is not what a forensics trace is supposed to be like. And this is important to understand. And I give an example of what a proper forensics analysis trace looks like. Peer-reviewed, not that I'm a big fan of peer review, but to just for the academics here, I link an article or a peer-reviewed article that's published in a journal entitled "Forensic Analysis of Wi-Fi Communication Traces in Mobile Devices." It's very concise. It's very clear. This is how mobile forensic analysis should be performed. But yet, it's not what we're given in this report by Amnesty and validated by Citizen Lab. We cannot even trace something that has the word traces in it, right? We cannot follow a path like we're dead in our tracks. We literally have no path to go to trace the infection. It's not possible. And this was a big concern. Let me give a little bit more context about how this device is actually being identified as malicious. So I did a study, specifically while I was working, on releasing information about my CatalanGate report, and I was able to create false positive results using the MVT tool, which is the tool that was used to identify Carine's phone as being infected with Pegasus. Now, this is these are the words from Amnesty. These are not my words. They specifically state that you use the MVT tool in order to identify malware inside of Carine's device. I'm gonna actually quote it. Give me 1 second to get to it. All right, they say, therefore, through this report, we are not only sharing the methodology we have built over years of research, but also the tools we created to facilitate this work, as well as Pegasus indicators of compromise we have collected. Amnesty International is also releasing a tool we have created called Mobile Device or Mobile Verification Toolkit, MVT. It's a modular tool that simplifies the process of capturing and analyzing data from Android devices and analyzes records from iOS backups and file system dumps, specifically to identify potential traces of compromise. Furthermore, they state this very specifically. They say, while iOS devices provide at least some useful diagnostics, historical records are scarce and easily tampered with. These are the exact words from the forensics report that was released to the public and given to me by Carine Kanimba. So this is really important because we do have, so this goes back to my research with the MVT tool not being a good indicator for compromise, because it can be easily manipulated. And not just, I was not the only security researcher that released a proof of concept. This is publicly available in my GitHub repository, and I believe it's titled Spyware, Pegasus Spyware False Positives. And I was not the only security researcher that had put together a proof of concept. There was another security researcher before me that released a proof of concept that it was different from my methodology to create a false positive result, but they were able to create a false positive result with the MVT tool, and the world didn't care, right? The world didn't care that this was out there. But when I released the CatalanGate report, people started to question, and then they started to care that, wait a second, how is this possible that you're using a tool to identify a device that's infected with Pegasus spyware when it can be easily manipulated? Let me give you an example. In the case of Spain and CatalanGate, these websites were listed in a Citizen Lab report. I'll give you a specific one, 123tramites.com, which is a website that I actually purchased. I purchased this website because Citizen Lab said that this website was 100%. They said it is the only website that is 100% fingerprint for their Pegasus analysis, which is meaning like they know for sure, without a question, that this domain is malicious and is an active indicator of compromise. It's actively malicious and actively infecting people's devices. But I purchased it. If you go to it right now, 123tramites.com, you can actually see it's mine. But yet it was delivered to the entire world saying, no, this is malicious. This website is malicious. And I was in shock. I was saying, are you kidding me? This website, when you released this report, this website had been expired for over 4 months. Why are you saying that this is an indicator of compromise? And it did not make sense to me. So the experiment that I did to show that, actually to help my hypothesis of being able to produce a false positive was I asked participants throughout the world to send a message to themselves, specifically sending the website 123tramites.com to themselves. Just send a message to yourself. Then, once you've sent that message to yourself, run the MVT tool, plug your iPhone in, and I gave them step-by-step instructions. And all of the results for everything that I'm talking about are on my GitHub page. And if you look at the wiki section, you'll actually see all of the participants' information and the results that they receive. You'll also see the disclosure that I gave them. I said I'm going to release this to the public. I will redact your names, but I'll also give you all of your full information if journalists or government entities need to research this. All of that disclosure is there, and they've all agreed to this. This is all open information, and the original documents that I sent them are all available on the GitHub as well. And every one of the participants that was actually able to run the test came back as positively infected with Pegasus spyware. Every single one of them. There was one case where the participant was not able to perform the test because they didn't have enough space on their device. They didn't have enough space to actually have a backup of their device, and that's listed. Now, this is very important as well because this is a real scenario. A real scenario says that you've filled up all the space inside of your phone. And this is very common. I've done it myself, right? Videos, pictures, etc., music, things like that. That you can't actually take a backup of your phone. Now, it's interesting that we don't ever see these kinds of results or these kinds of issues come up in an Amnesty report or a Citizen Lab report. So every one of these people from civil society apparently don't ever use their phones for photos or videos, or they don't ever use them for, for notes or listening to music. They just, they don't ever do that. It's 1 out of 9 participants in my study had this issue. But out of 1,800 people allegedly, or 1,850 people allegedly infected with Pegasus spyware, we've seen zero. We've seen zero that have had any trouble being, running their phone through an MVT tool. It's a little alarming, quite frankly, that every single result everyone that they've tested has come back positive for these indicators of compromise. So now that I've given you a little bit of background on how this tool works and what was presented in the Carine Kanimba case, so we can go further into the analysis of what's being presented to the world. It is very important to understand that again, even Carine specifies that Forbidden Stories, Amnesty International, and Citizen Lab were the ones that contacted her to have this forensics done on her device. Now, in the report, Amnesty International says that they have independently they've had an independent verification of their methodology and their findings, and the Citizen Lab is that independent entity that has rigorously validated their findings. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And I discovered this while I was doing my CatalanGate research, that one of the researchers from Amnesty International was also employed by Citizen Lab, and this presents a really interesting scenario. Well, when my CatalanGate report came out and I showed the proof of this, it was dismissed, and the European Parliament asked the director of the Citizen Lab specifically about this issue. Said, did this this person, and it's named. I just don't want to mess up the pronunciation of the name. He said, did this person actually, work on the CatalanGate report while, also, were they employed by Amnesty and Citizen Lab at the same time? And it was dismissed by the director of Citizen Lab, Ron Ebert, saying no, he was not employed by both of us at the same time. He ended his employment at a specific date. I believe it was April 2021. And so it does not follow with the timeline that this report was released, etc. And so, all right, the world is accepting it because, well, we can't validate that that's real. But if that's what he says, then that's what he says. But what it did offer for this specific case, for the Kanimba case, is that it did show that researcher was in fact employed by Amnesty and Citizen Lab at the time that the Kanimba case was confirmed. This is so. How this is impactful is telling the world that this was independently verified, and it is and supported, by Citizen Lab. It is false. This is not how independent verification validation works at all. You cannot employ the same security engineer in both facilities cannot work for that. There's a bias. There's conflict of interest. There's ethical violations, and I list all these things out. And I think this is very important to tell the people as well, because not only is this this is a misrepresentation of an independent analysis that is stated inside of a document, again given to a government entity, saying we have independently had this analyzed. These are the findings, and that the support for our methodology has been validated as well. It's been peer reviewed, it says. But imagine it's the same entity. It's the person requesting to be verified, verifying the report, is the one that's actually verifying the report. I want this verified. And okay, it's verified. It's self-verification. It's again, this is just mind-blowing to me that this is allowed to get out there. So as we continue understanding more about the situation, that we start to see now, all right, we have a false, so let me give a recap of the Kanimba case. We have a false positive that has not been told, the world has not been told that a false positive result has been found on Kanimba's phone. It's not been told. The world has not been told that the same security researcher working on this case is working in both the validation institute, the institution reporting, and the institution that is validating. That's not been told, but yet has been told that that this is a sound verification. So this is just a little bit of a recap. We've also been told, by the sworn statement of Kanimba that she was contacted by Citizen Lab February of 2021, letting her know that they believe that her phone was infected. All right, so the other details are we can go back and listen to that. This is being recorded, but this is where we're at. So now let's jump forward. Actually, let's stay in the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, because this is a very telling point in this case. In the report that is published online for the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, there is a document that is presented by the Belgian government, and that document specifically says that the mobile device of Carine Kanimba has been forensically analyzed, and it says that it's this cell phone is an iPhone X running iOS 14.6, and they said that based off of the forensic indicators that were presented to them by Amnesty International, the Belgian government did see these indicators of compromise that Amnesty said for them to look for. Well, of course, right? If you say, well, hey, I need you to look for these things, and so they said, yes, we found them. But they said, although we found these indicators of compromise, we cannot attribute them to Pegasus. Right? They said, we can confirm that the indicators of compromise that Amnesty said are NSO Pegasus are there. Those are the words. Those are their words. We can confirm that these indicators that Amnesty presented to us claiming they're NSO are there. Yeah, okay. They found 3 of them at least. They found 3 indicators of compromise. And they said, although we can't attribute the way that Amnesty has attributed, we're still going to send the results to their other division of the government per their national laws. And this is the document that this is all in the document that they released. So what I found very interesting was we have a mobile device with an operating system 14.6, right? And we have Kanimba saying that her mobile device was said to be infected February of 2021. Well, uh, here's the funny part. iOS 14.6 had not been iOS 14.6 had not been released in February of 2021. iOS 14.6 was released in May of 2021. So what are we analyzing, right? What is it that's going on here? And Alberto, I think go ahead. You've got your hand
Yeah,
up. I'm gonna let Alberto
sorry.
speak for a second so that I can take a
Yeah,
drink.
no, sorry to interrupt you, Scott. No, I haven't been able to speak since you had me as a co-host. Uh, it is not a coincidence. It's not an accident. Um, it's happening. I mean, people are using a lot of tools in order to avoid certain messages being delivered. No, I don't know. In your case, you are trying to uh, show the evidence of so many things to the world, and some people maybe don't want that information to be known. A lot of things here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just that, only that, because I was really frustrated that I couldn't do anything when you assigned me as a co-host, but only that I will let you continue, Jonathan. Thank you for giving me back the co-host position.
Yes, thank you, Alberto. Yeah, this has been a very interesting journey. I'll say that because um, when you have information like this, of course, that there's a lot of pushback, and we'll get into that here shortly. But I want to get back to these facts. So we have a mobile device that was infected in February and is presented to the Belgian government as having an operating system that was not released. There's it's impossible to have that operating system at that time. It just there's no way that it could have been on there. And this is not a developer version, right? We would see this. Like, this is not a beta, right? This is an actual release. 14.6 on a mobile device that was infected in February of 2021. And if you look at my Twitter thread, there's people that are supporting this disclosure that have looked and found for themselves. They're like, what? The document literally says 14.6, but how could this be possible if she gave a statement that this happened in February 2021? What are we analyzing? And this is where it gets a little bit interesting. And this is where we start getting very tangled in this mess. So after the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, uh, we start August 2nd of 2022. There was a podcast that Kanimba was on. It's a podcast that Ron Diebert of Citizen Lab runs, and I link all this in Twitter. You could have to go through my Twitter feed to see a lot of this. Um, a lot of things I'm talking about. It's there's quite a bit. And of course I'll release my full report as soon as I finish editing. It shouldn't be. It will probably be tomorrow. The final report. It's I can tell you. Make sure how much. Yeah, so it'll probably be tomorrow. But it's titled "Uncovering Amnesty International and the Citizen Lab: An Analytical and Technical Review Disproving the Pegasus Infection of Carine Kanimba." So far, it's about 45 pages, and it's all cited, and it talks about the specific things that I'm disclosing right now. And then after this is done, we'll have another space, maybe in Clubhouse, to speak about and ask questions about this review as well. But so let's go back to this podcast that Carine was on. Let me get to the specifics so I can read off the actual messages. So again, February of 2021, we've been infected, right? This is what we know. But now we say, um, it, it, it's being said that so when she was on this podcast, the host says, um, ha, okay, well, so February 2021. Let me go back a little bit. We know that Amnesty and Amnesty and Forbidden Stories and Citizen Lab contacted Carine Kanimba. But in the podcast, and says, how did you learn that the NSO group's Pegasus spyware was on your phone? She says, for the first time, Amnesty International discovered Pegasus on my Belgian phone. I have two phones. I have a Belgian phone and an American phone. And then when I went to an Oslo Freedom Forum, Citizen Lab had a booth, and they were checking phones for spyware, and they conducted some forensics phone on my phone. They discovered traces of Pegasus on my US phone. And I'm thinking, wait, hold on. Wait. So you have a Belgian phone and so and an American phone, and we didn't know about this because in her disclosure to the House Intelligence Committee, she states she had one phone. She told me there was one phone, right? This is the first time the world has ever heard about two phones. This is the first time the world has ever heard about her going to it's a convention. A convention in Miami in 2021, and allegedly Citizen Lab had a booth, and they were just checking everybody's phones for spyware. And when she just saw that she happened to see them, and then they just said, "Hey, let me run an analysis on your phone." And look, they found my U.S. phone was infected with Pegasus. And it's just like, wait a second. Okay, so let's assume. Let's assume that this is what's happened. She's had two phones. This Oslo Freedom Forum happened in October of 2021. So this is where dates and these inconsistencies start coming about. All right, so in the U.S. House Intelligence Committee report, the thing that I noticed was the Belgian report shows a serial number for one phone. Amnesty International, Citizen Lab report shows a serial number for a different phone. So there's two different serial numbers for one device at the time. Right? And this is we'll stick to the facts because these are the facts of the disclosure. This is this is the U.S. House Intelligence Committee. This is before the podcast ever came out. We have two serial numbers for one phone. Then the podcast comes out and says, "Oh, I have two phones," and actually, I was just at a convention and they checked my phone and then they found it to be infected. Okay, let's put things together. One device, her Belgian phone says, so let me go back. It says, how did you learn that the NSO Pegasus spyware was on your phone? She says, the first time Amnesty International discovered Pegasus on my Belgian phone. Okay, let's hold there. All right, so then we'll match that Belgian phone to the Belgian forensics report that's given to, and this, she said the first time, well, let's say that the first time is going to be February 2021 on her Belgian phone, which she's going to give to the Belgian government to do an analysis. We still have the issue that the phone that was infected with Pegasus spyware in February of 2021, it's impossible that she would have had operating system version 14.6 on that Belgian phone. It's impossible. Now, if we look at it from another perspective, we'd say, well, okay, maybe she sent her US phone to the Belgian government. And that just is where it gets really strange. send my US phone to the Belgian government and send my Belgian phone to where? Where did that get sent to, if that's what's the issue? If that was the case. It doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense at all. This story of having two phones and then having a phone checked at a conference does not make sense. It just in any scenario you look at, you still have the issue. The operating version did not exist at the time, and so these questions are things that need to be addressed. And I think that these are very valid questions, because I have to say nobody's asking them. And why is it? And what if there was a security engineer from the United Kingdom who posted a comment on this disclosure, and he said she could have updated her phone from February to the time that the Belgian government did their analysis. And the Belgian government's analysis was released in December of 2021. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? So now we're tampering with evidence, right? She could have updated her phone. So wait a second. That is the most asinine thing that anyone could ever say. She could have updated her phone that was that was infected with Pegasus, and then given that phone that was updated to be forensically analyzed. And then, so here's the thing. Citizen Lab is purporting that the Belgian government has found Pegasus to be on her mobile device, because they're saying we have, because they said, well, we found that the indicators of compromise from the amnesty tools show that, yes, according to our tools and according to the way that we present things, yeah, we found Pegasus on your device. But as you remember, I can find Pegasus on my device at any moment. Right now, I can show you how to find Pegasus on your own device at any moment. And so they're taking this report as a validation from another government entity. And this is where this is deceptive. And there's a chain of custody that comes into effect when these kinds of incidents occur. Why would anyone be allowed to have their phone back in such a global issue, such as spyware, and be able to deal with it with any way that they want to deal with it? I don't understand, right? It doesn't make sense. This is not how forensics works. And I think that this argument that's being made for updating the device is not valid. It should not even be an argument, and this is just something that is being thrown out to dissuade the truth and promote the deception that's being presented to us. There's quite a bit more that can be discussed about this specifically, but I want to shift a little bit into the CatalanGate, because it's important to note that the same concerns and issues and information that I presented in the CatalanGate are the same concerns and issues that are presented in Kanimba's case. One of them particularly are things that are presented, such as the timelines of infection. We have gaps. We have these wide ranges of showing infection, with the word specifically saying sometime between this date and this date, sometime between this date and this date, and it's just this entire list of the words sometime between these dates, you were infected. And this is not how forensics analysis works. And I want to make this very clear. Mobile forensics data analysis is an exact science. What this means is that the results that come from that data are concrete. They are written in stone. These are the results, right? How the forming the way that putting together how those results were delivered is the challenge, right? If this result comes from the way that it comes from the device, if this result comes from the device, you need to show how that result came from the device. You have to show it, because that result is that result. That result is not variable. That result is a static result, right? You cannot manipulate that result that came out. You have an exact result. Is your methodology incorrect? And is that why you got that result? Because the result is going to stay that result is not, it's not up for interpretation. That is the result of that methodology. That's the result of that methodology. Your methodology is in question if you believe that it is incorrect, or if you believe that it is correct, then you need to prove that methodology. That's what the exact science means, right? It's not up for interpretation, because you have performed that specific methodology in order to obtain that result. But we don't know what that methodology is. We don't know how they're actually coming up with these conclusions and saying sometime between, in one case specifically in the CatalanGate, was over a year span. They said sometime between 13 months you were infected. Now let me put this into perspective. If you're trying to make a case against someone that has abused you, and this is an abuse, right? This is spying, this is an abuse. If you're trying to make that case and you're going to make a report, and you're asked to give information about this report, when were you abused? And you tell the enforcement officer, well, I was abused sometime within the last 13 months, and I don't have the proof of it. I mean, this entity says that I was abused, but I want to file a complaint and I want to sue them for the abuse that happened sometime in these 13 months. This just doesn't make sense. How is it? How are you? If someone is going to try to take action against an SO group or against another entity that's spying on them, but you don't know when it occurred and you have a time frame that's 13 months, the same with Kanimba. You've got time frames that are just absurd with no attribution. It's just a list of times. And this is what we're presented with, and the world is saying, yeah, I believe it. Yep, no, it's Citizen Lab. Citizen Lab is, there's God, the stars, and Citizen Lab, as I said before. That's what the world is presented with. My gosh. Why are we not doing more investigations? Why are we not asking more questions? Every single person that is being accused of being infected with Pegasus spyware has these same wild and broad assumptions that are never backed by any evidence at all. There is never any evidence. And I can go further. People will say, well, I asked the question. The most, let's call it famous case of Pegasus spyware being detected was in the case of the forced entry. And this name forced entry came from Citizen Lab. And it is this zero click, which means all the attacker has to do is send a message to your phone, and that's it. You're infected. You don't have to click on anything. You wouldn't even know it happened. They said, yep, we found this to be NSO Pegasus spyware. And I asked a question to the information security community. And I said, has anyone independently verified that this is Pegasus spyware? And of course, the lash outs and the pushback where they sent, I was sent articles that pointed straight back to Citizen Lab. And they said, well, Apple confirmed this and Google did a write up about it. Google never confirmed it was Pegasus spyware. Google specifically said, we've confirmed that what Citizen Lab says is Pegasus spyware. Well, we found this vulnerability, but we can't confirm it's Pegasus spyware, just as the Belgian government says, well, we can confirm what you're saying is there, but we can't figure out who has done it like you're saying that you have figured that out. Now, the forced entry exploit was real. Yes, absolutely. But who did it is the question. Was it the Americans? Maybe. Was it NSO? Well, maybe. Was it Quadream? Maybe. Who was it? But everything's NSO to Amnesty and Citizen Lab. And ever since my disclosures have been coming out, they've now moved on from Pegasus spyware to, you know what, Predator. Since Pegasus is kind of it's going to be debunked, we're going to move on to Predator. But Predator is being identified the exact same way that Pegasus is being identified through the MVT tool. And I've already proved out the false positives with Predator, and it's in my Twitter thread as well. So the question is, what are we doing here? What's the point? Like, why are we continually saying that people are infected with something when there's false positive results coming back, and that is not being shared with the world? I mean, there's results that are considered as indicators of compromise. That's a paragraph. It's a paragraph of an indicator of compromise that says nothing about the indicator of compromise. And so statistically, when we have more unprovable results than we have anything that can actually be proven, the claim fails. It absolutely fails. And we're not given samples. We're not given methodology on how they obtained this information. And this is what I'm going to present to everyone in this final report, showing every single one of these attributions that are being made, saying that this is an absolute indicator of compromise. They have no rationale behind them. They have no methodology behind them. It does not show how they were obtained. And in fact, we can see that one of their methods is false. And one of the indicators of compromise is false. So it's just I wanted to talk about this to give people an overall information about what's happening, what's the state of the spyware investigation that are happening in the world, and then I'll open it up for some questions and go for another probably 15 minutes if anyone has any questions about this. And thank you all for listening. So feel free to raise your hand and I'll bring you up, or Alberto will bring you up if you have any questions.
Jonathan, yes, no. Just I would like to say, not regarding your report, your research, regarding the issues that you mentioned, the why people should question certain things in computer forensics, for example. Okay, change of custody, contamination of the evidence. Okay, with those things happening, okay, whatever result comes from any computer forensic research, regarding anything. The results are completely mean nothing. And okay, if they cannot guarantee those things, you cannot expect to 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 make people believe that the results are actually what they say they are. It's completely illogical. So yeah, people should question that, should be able to have answers, and of course they're not getting answers, and in these cases uh, they don't want to answer and they won't answer, and they try other times need to move on.
Absolutely, absolutely. The chain of custody is paramount. Show the chain of custody. Did you give the mobile device back to Kanimba, and did she update the operating system? If so, why are you analyzing that device? Why?
Yep, absolutely. You have to answer those questions. It's not about your research. It's doing following the procedure in order to guarantee that the results are actually something that are reflecting what you are trying to what you said in this case. So yeah, they should not. It's completely unprofessional and unethical to release a statement saying that certain things are 100% proved in things where they haven't followed the procedures in order to do that. It's completely something for me. It makes no sense. In not in this case, in any case, but um, just if you let me, Jonathan, express just a couple, 1 minute. Uh, yes, in this profession, I know what it is to try to bring up some topic that is really, really critical for people to really know what's going on. Certain information must be known for the people because it affects all of us. And the most vulnerable ones that are not being able to protect themselves, they cannot do nothing. It's us that should bring up these topics in order to protect them and expose things that are not being done in a proper way. And yeah, should be observed, corrected, and yes, we should change those things. And unfortunately, it takes a lot of courage to do this because if you do this, like Jonathan is doing, like I have done, I am doing right now, you will be uh, paying a big price of that because you will not just go and speak, you will be being affected in your family, in your life, in your career, in your profession. You will have to to be aware that the prices you will have to pay will be very huge. So it's something that unfortunately takes a lot of courage, but it must be done. For me, there's no other way of acting. So thank you, Jonathan. I don't know any other.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Alberto, for that. Yeah, this is, again, this is, I don't do this for fame. I don't do this for clout. I don't do this for. I want to let you know I don't get paid from YouTube for my videos. I don't get paid for any of this that I do. This is not a media ploy for fame and fortune. And this is not. I can prove that I don't get paid by anyone to do any of this. But this is the narrative that the other side says, right? Well, he's getting paid, and he's, well, no, can prove it. He's getting paid for his subscribers on YouTube. No, I'm not. I really, literally, am not. I don't even have enough hours watched on my videos to even qualify to get paid on YouTube. It's absurd that you're gonna find every single thing, to discredit what I'm saying, and but this is expected, right? So, but yes, Manzi, yeah, thanks for joining, and go ahead and feel free to speak.
Thank you so much for your outstanding presentation and educational. I find very troubling to trust what an international entity such as Amnesty, which actually you always finds tools to penalize some of the developing country using the so-called international status. So Given that, following your presentation, I find this is kind of politically motivated actions that they did against Rwanda. And now, given that this is uh, basically anyone who have a simple knowledge of basically the terms that you are using, like iOS and updating iOS and all those things that technicals you were talking about, could literally find that there is a breach of protocols that they should have followed. Even the fact that the tool they use can be easily manipulated, and this since this test was not even done. I don't know if the Rwandan government was presented, but if it was not, how would Amnesty be trusted that it was working on the interest of unbiased a report? So, if so, how can we now trust anything that Amnesty is saying? How do you think will be easily trusted if they ever report on anything, given that they are all over the place, reporting some of the cases that are reading attention, but at some other points, they do such kind of mistakes that you mentioned in their report.
Yeah, I thank you for speaking. I appreciate it. And you're right. We can't trust that Amnesty has the best interest for a specific group. At this point, it's of my opinion that there needs to be an investigation into these entities, Amnesty and Citizen Lab, for for falsely representing results to the world and accusing nations of things that they have not done, and bringing it's exploiting human rights abuses for whatever that personal gain may be. And I'll give you an example, even on of April of this year, a U.S. senator specifically said, Senator Rick Scott said, Amnesty International has proven itself to be a sham of human rights organization that perpetuates anti-Semitic propaganda and refuses to hold the world's dangerous and genocidal regimes accountable, like Communist China, Iran, Russia, and Venezuela. And U.S. tax dollars should not fund Amnesty International. That's what the U.S. senator has even said. It's just U.S. tax dollars should not fund Amnesty International, and it's a formal press release by Senator Rick Scott. So people are seeing what's happening, right? But yet it's these conversations, these discussions, these articles, white papers like I'm going to release have to be sent to these governments so that they can see, wait a second, what about this guy? What did well, he's a fraud. Well, Jonathan Scott, he's a fraud. Why? Well, because everyone says so. And he's talked bad about people, and he's, he cursed at them or something. Okay. And he got kicked out of his PhD university because he wrote something against what we like. So don't want me to look at his work because he hurt your feelings. That's what's actually happening online. You don't want me to look at what he has to say because he's a fraud, because he hurts your feelings. No, every government should look at the work that I release and others release. Now, let me give you one more thing. Before I ever released my CatalanGate report, there was another doctor, a PhD computer scientist, that Dr. Nadim, and you'll see him in my timeline. He specifically spoke out against Citizen Lab's report and said it's nonsense. He says, I can prove, and he wrote it in his Twitter timeline too. He said, I can prove that all of this can be falsified. It's like I can create my own infection scenario, and he showed it. He created his own infection scenario, and this was 2021 before I even published my CatalanGate report, and he speaks out against the nonsense that's being released, but yet the Citizen Lab supporters and proponents are dismissed him and saying no. Another PhD computer scientist from Turkey wrote a white paper, and I cite the white paper inside of my CatalanGate report, and he says he proves everything out. It's a very detailed white paper, and he proves everything out, saying everything that Citizen Lab has said is false. Here's the proof. And it was buried and dismissed. I mean, there's so many more people, computer scientists, PhD scientists, 100 professors from around the world, Yale University, prestigious Spanish universities. I mean, it sent a letter to the University of Toronto demanding information on the methodology that Citizen Lab is using to confirm these spyware infections. What they're doing is causing conflicts all around the world with no professors, scientists, and 3 times they were denied. You can see this in my feed. You can see this on Dr. Jose Olivas' feed. Dr. Jose Olivas is a political scientist from the London School of Economics, who has been following all of this controversy and corruption and that stems around Amnesty and now and Citizen Lab and all of these other organizations. There's a thread that's about 500 tweets long, and he released his own report on ResearchGate, showing the inconsistencies and inability to confirm the methodology. And this is Dr. Jose Olivas. You can read his report, and then you can follow his tweets just like I'm doing. So I release my report, and I release tweets. I'll release a report and then release tweets and have these conversations. And you follow Dr. Jose Olivas because you can see the facts that he presents. These facts are able for everyone to verify. And it's astounding to see that we're still, that the United States government, the European Parliament are still saying, yeah, time to sanction. It's time to sanction. So, all right. Yes, Alberto, go ahead.
The answer, sorry, Nancy, the question. How to trust? Okay, no. Once an organization, an individual shows that his integrity, Alice here, very interesting. His integrity, his values, he's behaving in a way that is completely questionable. Okay, you cannot gain that trust back. That's over. That you cannot recover. I have been sent to prison for something that they want to tell me. In this year, I was finally in criminal case closed. I don't have any criminal charges, any criminal records. I'm completely without any kind of crime in my history. But okay, they challenged me. I had to pay that price. And Jonathan, okay, I was going to buy a T-shirt. Jonathan, Scott is a fraud. Because why? Because everybody's buying. You know what? That's funny. I posted months ago something that Jonathan tweeted, and okay, 20 people respond attacking that tweet that had a link in order to verify what it was posted then. And I look at the analytics, and it only had 1 click and 20 people saying that it was all lie. Okay, and only 1 click. And I said, funny. And I said, and by the way, that 1 click was me that was trying to verify that the link was working. So nobody clicking that. So come on, you have the information out there, please. Don't trust Jonathan. Don't trust anybody. Do your own research. be responsible as a infosec professional. That's very important. By the way, Jonathan, if you don't mind, Ali works in international conflicts. She knows a lot about this. I don't know if this is the place and we have the time, and maybe she's not in context, but all the things that you are an expert in, maybe a person like her can actually put in context all those elements that you are do not understand, that are probably things that give more elements in order to understand all this whole behavior. And yes, I told you, Jonathan, first, try to destroy the source of information, destroy the credibility of the source of information. Second, try to minimize it. Third, start talking about that. That I told you, Jonathan.
Yeah, absolutely. You did. You did. We've had many personal conversations private about this, and it's been emotional too, right? Like I remember, um, Alberto calling me, and when I got my first death threat, and it was pretty bad. I mean, it was graphic. I remember it was. I got very emotional, and Alberto was there, to comfort me and my wife, and it's not an easy road to go down, but I look at it this way: that imagine all the people that are living every day believing that they have been violated. And I can't imagine what the psyche is like, thinking that you're living every single day, thinking that somebody's looking at everything you're texting, thinking that somebody is every picture you take, thinking that somebody's turning on your camera and watching you being intimate with your partner, when these things are lies. That you cannot prove that this is happening. You cannot prove it, and there's no proof that this is happening. And this is troubling, right? This is very troubling, and so this one of the reasons why I do this is, and I am very open about it, is these people are suffering, but you're looking at targeting a company, but you're not talking about the people that are suffering. You're talking about, oh, well, this is a horrible situation for Kanimba, and she feels like she can't sleep, and yes, this is what I'm talking about. She feels that way, absolutely. But then the facts start coming around quick. Well, where is this true? But imagine all the other people that they are told that they have a Pegasus spyware infection, and they don't have a chance to voice it, or they don't ever voice it. They're just told. They're in my CatalanGate report, over 50% of the people that were said to be infected had zero dates of compromise, and they had zero indicators of compromise. They were literally just told they were infected. They were not provided with any information. None. Out of over 50% were not provided with any information, and the world just accepted it. And those people just accepted it. And I can't imagine what that's like, to just accept it. Even if you wanted to take action against the NSO group, you could not, because you had nothing to take action against at all. Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Manzi.
Thank you again. Yeah, not only that, those people who are told that their phone is infected, but you mentioned also the U.S. House Intelligence Committee to propose to sanction Rwanda, and that is not only when you talk about Rwanda, you're thinking, not one person, but 12 million plus people. And that is not cool to something that you you haven't yourself verified. And also, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned about your Git repository. Do you have anywhere someone can find the link of your Git repository?
Yes, in my profile, at the top of the in my profile on Twitter, at the banner on the top, it shows you the it's in red. The URL's in red. Yep.
Much appreciated, man.
Yes,
Continue
no
your
problem.
advocacy, and I hope that your voice will be heard. And I'm not against that, Carine Kanimba, but as you mentioned, the fact that someone says that he was attacked, even if it is true, and you cannot pinpoint who sent the attack, but you just because you have someone you dreamed like the other night, and you press charges, or you just point a finger at them. Something is not quite right, and it shouldn't be done. If it was done on a European country or Americas, if right now the world on fire, trying to find who lied what, and answers could have been uh, given. But the fact that it's Rwanda and or any other developing country, of course, someone will be able to speak with assurance that nothing can happen to them, and they just expect to say. Again, I'm not against this woman, but I think there should be a proper way of diagnosing the devices, and bring the actual facts to eliminate information or informing the public about reports. Thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you so much for speaking. I really appreciate it.
Hello, Zoe. I'm so happy you're here. You're finally being able to be here and speak to Jonathan. How are you, Zoe? Zoe?
I guess she can't hear right now.
Twitter is
Okay.
No, I can hear.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
Thank
Good
you
to
for
speak to you again.
having me.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. Good.
nice to
Good to
speak to
hear
you.
your voice again.
Yeah, you was well. I wonder how you've been. I never see you around. I don't. I imagine you're just not really wasting all your time on Twitter Spaces, which I definitely am.
Yeah, I've been very rich, and I've taken a little time from public speaking so that I can make sure that I have all the facts available to speak on. And but yeah, I've taken a little time off the public speaking, and hope to get back into it after this next disclosure. Yeah.
No, I don't. That sounds ominous. Like I'm a little disappointed. Is that going to be what this is? Like for real? Like what are you talking about? Your next disclosure?
Oh yeah. Well, no, the next full report, right? So I'll give essentially like a brief, within the
Me?
blog post that I posted a blog post, kind of giving a brief about the situation, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll be releasing the full
So I
the full
don't read
report.
your blog because there's a lot of shit. Like what I'm gonna guess is this: if I'm wrong about what it is by just guessing, somebody says that you are X and you're like, nah, I'm Y, and here's some Z about why I'm Y and not X, and they're like, well, here's this A about Y, and it goes on and on.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
And you're
absolutely.
bored,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, you're.
I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, no,
It's
I understand. I mean,
the
that's yeah,
hacker community, today. Like
yeah,
we're all just trying
exactly.
to make each other paranoid. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah. This
I'm
is a tough
imagining what
one.
you and I like hate you and talk about, but no, I like that's what
Oh
everybody
no,
says, about everybody.
no, I don't actually hear that about you at all. We had a
Right?
very we had a very productive. Last time I remember, it was amazing. Like we had a great productive conversation, and it was awesome. I mean, no, I've not heard anything negative about you at all, at all. Yeah.
I see. I'm often abrasive as fuck in these things, these Twitter Spaces, because it's a mistake is the because, but the behind of it is, we all have to. You can't tell someone in infosec, well, don't be paranoid. It's like, what? Like, like, don't do your job. I have no ideas on how to
Sure.
regulate this shit.
Sure. Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that presenting people with information for them to be able to go and see the results for themselves is important. And that is the biggest thing that I'm trying to do in all of this. Provide some, and it was amazing because even just in my Twitter thread, it was someone actually did their own due diligence, and I retweeted them. They saw a document that was posted publicly, and they did their own research, and they said, well, yeah, this is not possible for this to have happened because of XYZ. I mean, they did this research on their own. They wanted to verify what I was saying. They did that on their own. It's interesting that some people, they choose not to do that, but I'm glad that there are those that do take the time. Yeah.
Twitter can be, and it's not often, but you do this. I'm seeing it can be used as an image board instead of text. Like, why? And I don't really think of Twitter that way. Like, what I do think of Instagram is 4chan. But for whatever reason, I just haven't thought of Twitter that way. Is there a reason that I'm just not thinking of that is a good reason to post images of textual information that's unsourced?
Sure. Yeah, so I post my research on ResearchGate, right? So people can, people that are not on Twitter can go in and read and many people don't many people have messaged me. They don't have Twitter. They've never seen anything that I've posted on there. They don't care to do that. They want to see the research, in a formal report. That's my goal, is to make sure.
So, that's not like a series of PNGs is not a formal report, is it?
But no.
It's quite the opposite.
Yeah. So ResearchGate is not. I actually don't have any. So even my last disclosure is 60 pages, and there's no PNGs in it at all. It's 60 pages of cited text. Yeah. There's no PNG.
Either that, like, it's, you have
Absolutely.
to understand, I don't. I have very little energy left at this point in the world. Love for the community I'm supposed to be part of, and for even for pillars of,
Sure.
It's hard to weed through it. Like, if what you're primarily engaged in right now, which seems to be, with all with what, how do I say this? Take this the right way, but with no feigned respect. It seems under back and forth drama piece. When you've got reports that how do you? What I don't have the time. Nobody does, right? To be looking through tweet after tweet on that kind of shit, because I don't know if you're full of shit or not, and I would like to know. You see why it's tough, right? Because
no, I'm sorry, I don't see why it's tough, because I just retweeted my report. Retweeted my report.
So then it's not that tough. Let me just read the report.
Yeah, it's the report's there. There's no, you don't have to be on Twitter at all to read it. It's 60 pages of cited text, and it's not tough. You don't have to ever be on Twitter or know me, but I can appreciate your opinion.
I don't have, maybe getting away from Twitter. It might be the answer. Having setting up an actual just aggregate that isn't Twitter. That might be it.
Absolutely.
Where is it? You retweeted it? Or?
Yeah, it should be on my timeline. It's retweeted, and it's.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I'll just hang out here while I'm reading through it.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. It seems like there's no one else that's wanting to speak right now. So I want to appreciate, thank everybody for okay, someone's requested 1 second. So we'll just go for another 10 minutes or so. But I'll bring you up. And Fabrice, thank you for coming up, and I'll give you the opportunity to speak. Thank you. Fabrice, you can go ahead and speak if you can hear.
Yes. Can you listen to us?
Okay. Maybe can't hear.
Okay, you can speak. No, she can listen. Okay. No, Jonathan, if you don't mind, I can make this audio file available within an hour on
Yes.
the podcast and the platform on there. So,
Absolutely.
sorry, I will tweet that so people can access to the link to the audio file directly, because it's not very nice to hear it directly from Twitter. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool doc. Like, it is. But come on, it's not sourced. There's a bunch of like, it's not necessarily anything wrong with fashioning your work so that it reads. Like most people don't have all day to just like sit at home and like hack their computers. Like they need things to be put in like a format that they can understand. Like I don't know that there's something wrong with that, but you have to see that that's not a source document.
I'm sorry. I think I'm confused here. Are we still talking about Twitter posts?
The thing you call a source document, that
Yeah.
and you keep referring to it as 60 pages.
Yes.
Like you that might be great branding, but I don't. I'm not seeing anything in this that is actually more than conjecture on how spyware that you can't really prove exists might propagate. Is there like I don't see anything in it aside from that.
Okay. I think that's probably give you some more time to go through it. And there's 44 references, citations. There's 44 citations in there. I mean, I just be quite candid. It seems as though we need some time to review it. Hopefully, that's a fair statement before we spend time going through it.
Let me take another look.
Yeah. Feel free to message me with your questions, because I'm not sure this is quite the forum for this right now.
In that case, yeah, they're not. Do you want to really say that there are 44 citations?
That's actually what's on there. That's actually the number on ResearchGate.
It's a number, but you also said it's 60 pages. Should we start there? Because they are so analogous that you like.
I mean, that's the number of pages.
It's the number of pages in what?
And the report.
What renderer? Like, if I put it in a like a gecko, it's gonna render that. Like, this is it's just really difficult for people. I'm telling you what's happening. That I'm seeing happening around. People don't know whether there's like I'm trying to say. There's nothing wrong with formatting your work in a way that is, like bite sized. Like that's not what I meant. Digestible. Like that is no. I meant accessible. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But since we live in this field where we all have to have a level of paranoia that's higher than really any of us got instructions on, and it has to be regulated, then when we see something like your 60-page document here that looks like it's mostly image board, it's very difficult to take that and not immediately just say, yeah, this must be like not good. And by not good there, I think you know what I mean, but I owe you way more than that to like with other people listening. I mean it like in trying to figure out, is this something that I should take as serious info security hackery, like something that is something like something that you can.
Before the answer, sorry, regarding paranoia, you are completely right. You know, that's how to learn that. And something very sad happened. Somebody was started receiving messages. Yes, using obviously another account as a way of sending that. At one point, that person made a mistake, and a person unfortunately sent that from where she shouldn't have sent the message and could be traced. Yeah, um, it's very paranoid people out there to destroy everybody. It's crazy. It's very sad that it's happening. Everybody.
No, I'm talking about the paranoia we have that is necessary. For, like it's a weird concept, to because it doesn't make sense. I don't know how to point at it otherwise, because it's infosec. Like we're gonna look to like our family and loved ones, like we're out of our goddamn mind because of the patterns. Let's say you're a doctor or a nurse, and you have a let's say you're a doctor or a nurse, you have a child, you're probably going to bring them to, even though you know this is the wrong thing to do, you're going to bring them to the hospital for like every cough because you've seen what can go wrong. That's something analogous almost.
I think I'm not following. And I'm trying to understand what, but
okay, well then question one, why are you posting things in image border format on Twitter?
I'm not sure what
an
that
image border
means.
is when you post text in an image, like, and you're not, like, instead, like 4chan or image, what is it called? Like these are not, yeah, like, that's not how Twitter works. It's a way to have your tweets be subject to link rot, so you don't have to stand by them for more than like 2 years, and also it's probably easier to just straight up take them back. And we're gonna, like, people see that possibility. Like, I promise, I'm telling you this I want you to have an opportunity for benefit of doubt, because these are not dumb people.
I think I'm still not following, like, because I actually have that's not the only, so putting images and text in Twitter is just supporting the actual release of like full text that I release. So I'm actually retweet another, cool. The actual publication.
The thing that you did retweet, it was full of screen grabs of text.
No, it was not. But okay.
The Medium article.
The Medium article screen grab. Okay. Did you see? Are you looking at the CatalanGate report? Is that the report that you're looking at? This is not a Medium article. It's a 60-page report. I think you're looking at maybe something different.
I'm looking at a.
Are you on research?
60-page report.
Are you on
that
ResearchGate?
Like, better formatted.
Are you on ResearchGate?
Am I on ResearchGate? You're asking me if I'm looking at it at ResearchGate. Does it not occur in simultaneum on Medium.com?
No, it does not. No, it does not.
Are you sure about this?
I've never published my CatalanGate report on Medium. I'm 100%. I only published it in one place. I only published it in ResearchGate. That's the only place it has ever been, and it has like 12,000 reads, or 14,000 reads. I've never published it anywhere else.
I'm sorry, 12, 14. Right?
It's got 14,000 reads on ResearchGate.
Could you put the link to the exact thing that you're talking about?
It's there. It's right in my profile. It's right below. It's the tweet right below my pinned tweet. It's right below. It has 206 retweets 268 likes.
All right.
Yes, that's the proper one. So I'll give you time to go through that. But yeah, so I appreciate this, everyone joining, and hopefully we can have more discussion.
I'm sorry. What I'm seeing is still, like there is a, it is on Medium, and then the link to our space here.
I've never posted this on Medium. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
You can't possibly be talking about your beef with some person, because I made it very clear that I didn't want to hear anything about that.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I've never posted my CatalanGate report on any other place but researchgate.net. That is a fact.
Sorry, can
right.
you,
So
you know,
like what you've tried to do here is mislead everyone by putting at the top and in the nest something to you on Medium, which is also posted elsewhere in a less like formatted, but it's still the same content way. That's what you put in the top. And I told you immediately that I didn't want. I wasn't interested in like somebody discrediting you, and you're going to discredit them, and they're going to do it to you.
I'm sorry. This seems like very, very unproductive at this moment.
Right, and you can like be quieter and talk like this, but nobody's buying it because I really just want to talk and communicate with you. I won't be hysterical because I don't have enough of a soul or whatever left to like care that much. I just want to see something that's not image board formatted.
Yes.
That means it's text straight up at its source.
Yes, that's on researchgate.net. You can see it in my retweet. It's 60 pages with 44 citations. So, all right. Thank you for everyone joining, and hopefully we'll have another productive conversation, and I appreciate all y'all's time. Have a good evening.